morning. So today we'll take up on the most important and frequently asked topic in international relations and IAS section. So the treaty on nuclear non-proliferation, popularly known as the NPT, is known as the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty or NPT, right? Known as the NPT, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. So N is known as okay. The Treaty on Nuclear Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, commonly known as Non-Proliferation Treaty or NPT, is an international treaty whose objective is to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and weapons technology, to promote cooperation in peaceful use of nuclear energy, and to further hello ఎంత చాలండి Okay, so let's start it again. A phrase. So, the Treaty on Nuclear Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapon, commonly known as NPT or Non-Proliferation Treaty, is an international treaty whose objective includes. So, the treaty is known as NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and its objective includes prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and weapon technology. This is number one. To promote cooperation in the peaceful use of nuclear energy, that's number two. And to further the goal of achieving nuclear disarmament, and general and complete disarmament. Okay, number 3. Okay, so you see, in the post Second World War period, there is a competition among countries to acquire nuclear weapons, because the turning point in the Second World War came when America used nuclear weapons on Japan and the war came to an end. Since that day, so there is a keen competition to acquire nuclear weapons, because nuclear weapon will definitely give superiority to the country in international sphere. Keeping that in view, so many countries join the race of acquiring nuclear weapons. And the most important aspect is to further or promote the goal of achieving nuclear disarmament in particular, and general complete disarmament. Okay, because so in the post Second World period, there is a period of arms race. Not only nuclear arms, but even conventional arms race was very much there, because country after country they know very well that only armaments will give them the power. So countries started acquiring armaments, and more armaments were acquired, developed indigenously, purchased from outside, so that enhance or increase the sense of fear, uncertainty, and a large scale devastation in the world. So, this NPT also aims at reducing or achieving the concept of disarmament and complete disarmament in course of time. Fine. Between 1965 to 1968, the treaty was negotiated by the 18 Nation Committee on Disarmament, a United Nations sponsored organization based in Geneva, Switzerland. So the United Nations sponsored conference on disarmament, which was held at Geneva in Switzerland. So they negotiated between 1965 to 68 to work out the modalities, the blueprint of this particular treaty. Open for signature in 1968, the treaty entered into force in 1970. So it was signed in 1968 and came into force in 1970 after being ratified by the majority member, because any international treaty to be operational must be ratified by the member countries who have signed it. So signature is one thing and its ratification is something different. So any international treaty to be applicable must be ratified by the signatory or signatory country. The signatory country must ratify it in their respective parliament after discussion. Okay, because the treaty was signed by the leaders or the representatives at the international conference, but its ratification by the parliament of that particular member country is more important than the signature, because the treaty normally, the international treaty only come into force when it is ratified by the member country. Fine. Between as required by the text, after 25 years, the NPT review meeting was held in 1995. So, as per the original treaty, so there is a provision that after the treaty came into force, 25 years after that, so this will be a review conference, and the review conference was held in 1995, because the treaty came into force in 1970. So in 1995, a review conference was held, and that review conference extended the treaty for an indefinite period. That means the original treaty from that came into force in 1970 was for 25 years, and that is 1995. In 1995, there is a review conference. Okay, and the review conference extended the treaty for indefinite period. That means it is extended without any time bar for indefinite period. Right. For times to come, the treaty has been extended. That manifests the significance of the treaty and Why? That is why the international community decided to extend the treaty for indefinite period. More countries are party to the NPT than any other arms limitation and disarmament agreement. A statement to the treaty significance. As of August 2016, 191 states have become party to the treaty, though North Korea, which acceded in 1985 but never came into compliance, announced its withdrawal in 2003 following its own secret nuclear activities. Fine. So 191 countries are the signatory to NPT, whereas 193 countries are UN members. So this manifests the significance or importance of this particular treaty, because so many countries have signed the treaty and they are acceded to it, and the number of members signatory to this treaty 191 manifests its importance in international domain. Okay, so four UN member states have never accepted the NPT, three of which possess or thought to be possess nuclear weapons: India, Israel, and Pakistan. So they have not signed it. India and Pakistan have not signed it. Okay, Israel has not signed it, and the recently created state, a country of South Sudan, it has also not joined it. So four countries so have not signed it. They includes India, Israel, Pakistan, and South Sudan, which was recently created. South Sudan, the newest country in international domain, it has not signed. So India, Pakistan, and Israel have not signed it. Okay, and South Sudan, which are the new member in United Nations system, it has also not signed this particular treaty. Fine. The treaty defines nuclear weapon state as those that have built and tested nuclear explosive device before 1st January 1967, and the treaty was signed. Discussion started in 67. Okay, so the treaty was signed in 68. So those countries who have tested nuclear weapons before 1st January 1967 were recognized as nuclear weapon states. So how many have exploded before that? Only 5: USA, Russia, UK, France, and China. These 5 countries, who no doubt are the permanent member of United Nations Security Council, they have test exploded nuclear weapons prior to 1st January 1967. That's why they were recognized as the nuclear weapon states. Or you can say legitimate nuclear weapon countries. Okay, so they have been legally accepted as the country who have tested nuclear weapon prior to the treaty coming into force. That is why they are accepted as the legal or de jure nuclear power states or nuclear weapon states. Fine. So, and rest are not accepted to acquire nuclear weapons. Fine. Four of the states are known to believe with this nuclear weapons, such as India, Pakistan, North Korea, have openly tested and declared that they possess nuclear weapons, while Israel is deliberately ambiguous regarding its nuclear weapon status. So the world community know very well that India, Pakistan, North Korea, and Israel have nuclear weapons, because India has tested, Pakistan has tested, North Korea has tested, and Israel, although has not tested, has maintained ambiguity in its nuclear program. So it is somehow believed by the global community that Israel also has nuclear weapons. Fine, but it has not come with a very clear opinion on this. It does not make the global community much aware about these things. Fine. So the NPT is often seen to be based on the central bargain. The NPT non-nuclear weapon states agree never to acquire nuclear weapons, and the NPT nuclear weapon state in exchange agree to share the benefits of peaceful nuclear technology and to pursue nuclear disarmament aimed at the ultimate elimination of the nuclear arsenal. So here comes the concept of bargain. Okay, so based on the concept of central bargain. What is the central bargain? The non-nuclear open states agree never to acquire nuclear weapons. We will never try to acquire nuclear weapons. The nuclear open states, on their commitment, they agree to share the benefits of peaceful nuclear technology and to pursue nuclear disarmament aimed at the ultimate elimination of their nuclear arsenal. Am I clear? So it is a bargaining. So the nuclear weapon state, non-nuclear weapon state, they agreed that we will never try to acquire nuclear weapons. In return, so they were given the assurance by the nuclear weapon country that all development for peaceful use of nuclear technology will be disseminated or passed on to them, and they will try to eliminate their nuclear arsenals in future. Okay, the disarmament will start by them, and the time will come when they will dismantle, or they will go for complete elimination of their nuclear arsenal in their stockpiles. So you can say this is a bargaining. Fine. The treaty is reviewed every 5 years in meeting called review conferences. Even though the treaty was originally conceived with a limited duration of 25 years, the signing party decided by consensus to unconditionally extend the treaty indefinitely during the review conference at New York held in 1995. The 25th years review conference held at New York in 1995, extended it for indefinite period as we have discussed. So every 5 years there is a review conference, and that it was extended. And at the 25th review conference, looking at the importance of such a treaty, the signatory decided to extend it for indefinite period. The treaty that at the time of the NPT was proposed, there were prediction that 25 to 30 nuclear weapon states within 30 years. So when the treaty was proposed, that's in 1967, 65 to 67. Okay, there is apprehension or expectation that around 25 to 30 countries will acquire nuclear weapons. Fine, in the coming 20 years. But this treaty has brought it to a grinding halt. Instead of over 40 years later, 5 states are not parties to the NPT, and they include the only 4 additional states believed to possess nuclear weapons. Several additional measures have been adopted to strengthen NPT and the broader nuclear non-proliferation regime and make it difficult for states to acquire the capability to produce nuclear weapons, including export control through the nuclear supplier group and enhanced verification measures of the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is called as the watchdog of the world, nuclear watchdog of the world. You see, so as the apprehension was that in course of time, 25 to 30 countries will acquire nuclear weapons, but what came to picture is that only 4 to 5 countries they tried to acquire nuclear weapons, and not more than that. Okay, and so only 5 countries were legitimate nuclear weapon countries, and rest 4 to 5 countries who acquire nuclear weapons. So it was decided to bring the regime or make the regime more stringent. That's why the nuclear supplier group was created, NSG, the nuclear supplier group, an association of countries who have the monopoly over nuclear commerce. So NSG has monopoly over nuclear material trading. Fine. So they have been legally accepted as a cartel who deal with nuclear materials and technology. And the IAEA, functioning under the UNSC, IAEA functions under the United Nations Security Council, is the nuclear watchdog of the world. So this act as the nuclear watchdog. Okay, of the world. Fine. So these two, along with the additional protocols, they try to safeguard the world from the nuclear weapon and check the spread of nuclear weapon and weapon technology, but facilitate peaceful use of nuclear energy and the technology for wider humanitarian use. Fine. Moving further, the treaty structure. The NPT consists of a preamble and 11 articles. The treaty has a preamble and 11 articles. Although the concept of pillars is not expressed anywhere in the NPT, the treaty is nevertheless sometimes interpreted as a three-pillar system with an implicit balance among them. What are the three pillars? Non-proliferation, disarmament, and right to peacefully use nuclear technology. So three pillars. Pillar one, non-proliferation, means not spreading the nuclear weapon and technology. Then number two, disarmament. Those who have the nuclear arsenal, they'll disarm it with the ultimate objective of complete disarmament within time frame or in times to come, and right to peacefully use nuclear technology. Third one is most important because in the present era, the nuclear technology has diversified use. So this is where, so the treaty also, the third pillar of the treaty aims at right to peaceful use of nuclear technology by any member country, because for peaceful use of nuclear technology there should not be any control mechanism or any regulator mechanism. Coming to the first pillar, under Article 1 of NPT, nuclear weapon states pledge not to transfer nuclear weapon or other nuclear explosive devices to any recipient or in any way assist, encourage, or induce any non-nuclear weapon states in the manufacture or acquisition of nuclear weapons. This is a very important one in article mentioning article 1. Okay, very important provisions. So the NPT or nuclear weapon states, they pledged not to transfer nuclear weapon or nuclear explosive device or any to any recipient uh, or in any way assist, encourage, or induce any non-nuclear weapon states in manufacture or acquisition of nuclear weapons. This is Article 1. Article 2, non-nuclear weapon states pledge not to acquire or exercise control over nuclear weapons or other nuclear explosive devices and not to seek or receive assistance in the manufacture of such devices. So these two, one for the nuclear weapon states, the second is for the nuclear non-weapon states. Fine. Weapon states will not transfer it. Non-weapon states will never try to acquire it. Then Article 3, non-nuclear weapon states pledge to keep, accept IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency safeguard, to verify that their nuclear activity serve only peaceful purpose. So the non-nuclear weapon country, they have agreed that they will allow the inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency, the nuclear watchdog of the world, to verify their program where they are using the nuclear technology for peaceful purposes, to certify that this is not being used for any nefarious purpose or any military purpose. Fine. So this should allow the inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency to visit their site and so to verify the program without any inhibition to that. Fine. Then five states are recognized by NPT as nuclear weapon states, such as China, France, Soviet Union, present Russia, then United Kingdom and United States of America, which also happen to be the five permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. That means the P5, the permanent five members, P5 of UNSC are the N5. Okay, so by law, the P5 is same as the N5. Here the five countries: USA, Russia, and former USSR, then France, UK, and China. These five are here. These five are also here. But the P5 are the N5. Fine. Okay. These five nuclear weapon states agree not to transfer nuclear weapons or other nuclear explosive device and not in any way assist, encourage, or induce a non-nuclear weapon state to acquire nuclear weapons. Nuclear non-weapon state party to the NPT agreed not to receive, manufacture, or acquire nuclear weapons or to seek or receive any assistance in the manufacture of the nuclear weapons. Article 2. Non-nuclear weapon states parties also agreed to accept safeguard by the International Atomic Energy Agency to verify that they are not diverting nuclear energy from peaceful uses to nuclear weapons or other nuclear explosive devices. Article 3. Fine. Then second pillar, the second pillar is on disarmament. Under the Article 6 of the NPT, all parties fine undertake to pursue good faith negotiations on effective measures relating to the cessation of the nuclear arms race and to nuclear disarmament. Okay, complete disarmament in general. Article 6 of NPT represents the only binding commitment in the multilateral treaty, the goal of disarmament by the nuclear weapon states, NPT preamble contains language affirming the desire of treaty signatory to ease international tension and strengthen international trust so as to create someday the condition for a halt to the production of nuclear weapons and treaty on general and complete disarmament that liquidates in particular nuclear weapons and their delivery vehicles from national arsenal. So on disarmament, so the overall aim is to see that the country will try for disarming nuclear weapons in particular as well as go for not only weapons but the delivery mechanism. Okay, or the delivery vehicles of the nuclear weapons, they all will be dismantled or destroyed in course of time, so that thereby eliminating the fear of nuclear war from the mind of the people, which remain a dream even today after the review conference 1995. This is 2033, but in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, every day there is a threat of Russia using nuclear weapon on Ukraine. So, where is the nuclear disarmament? Every year, so this number of nuclear arsenal is being increased in the stockpile, and the nuclear threat is looming large over the global scenario. Coming to third pillar, peaceful use of nuclear energy. NPT Article 4 acknowledges the right of all parties to develop nuclear energy for peaceful purposes and to benefit from international cooperation in this area in conformity with their non-proliferation obligations. So, this is for peaceful purpose. Nuclear technology is a dual use technology. So, what it is? Nuclear technology is called as dual use technology. Dual use. That means it can be used for peaceful purposes. It can be used for defense. Okay. So this is what peaceful use. So emphasis will be on its peaceful use. And nuclear research also has contributed to the use of the nuclear for peace. So in which sector? For you can see widely used in energy, for power generation, in healthcare, nuclear medicine, and in other activities like food preservations, in agriculture, in industry. So radioisotopes are used. So its civilian use is also growing, and that so more and more research are there. Research is more on peaceful use that should be promoted. Okay, so and those who are using the nuclear technology for peaceful purpose, they should ensure that their program is transparent, their program is subject to verification, and at any time, the arms inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency should be allowed to their premises of their power plant and their other establishment where they use the nuclear technology for civilian purposes to overcome any doubt in the mind of the international community in this domain. Fine. So NPT Article 4 acknowledges the right of all parties to develop nuclear energy for peaceful purpose and to benefit from international cooperation in this area in conformity with their non-proliferation obligations. Article 4 also encourages such cooperation. This so-called third pillar provides for the transfer of nuclear technology and material to NPT parties for peaceful purposes in the development of civilian nuclear energy program in those countries subject to IAES safeguard. The International Atomic Energy Agency has come with safeguard. Okay, and the country who are utilizing nuclear energy for peaceful purposes should be very much open and transparent in its use and must allow follow all the nuclear safeguard guidelines issued by IAEA, and also allow the arms inspectors from IAEA to visit their nuclear premises or nuclear power premises, nuclear peaceful nuclear energy use premises to verify whether the activity are in conformity with or not. Okay, IA safeguards or not. Okay, so this is what. Okay, are the commercial popular light water reactor nuclear power stations in this enriched uranium fuel? It follows that state must be able to either to enrich uranium or purchase it or on an international market. Because you know, in the so the most important civilian use of nuclear power, nuclear technology is the power generation. And in the popular and which is the most popular reactor using power generation, the light water reactor, which uses okay the technology for nuclear technology for power generation, and here enriched uranium are used as fuels, which is used enriched uranium is used as fuel. Fine. And the uranium enrichment can be done by the country in its own, or it may purchase enriched uranium from the international market. Two options left before it. One is the country can purchase enriched uranium from the market, or the country may use technology for enriching uranium to be used in its nuclear power plant, which are based on the light water reactor technology. Fine. Okay. Countries that have become party to NPT as non-nuclear weapon states have a strong record of non-building nuclear weapons, although some tried and one eventually left the NPT and acquired nuclear weapons called North Korea. Iraq was found by the IAEA to have violated its safeguards, obligations and subject to punitive sanctions by the UN Security Council. North Korea never came into the compliance with the NPT safeguards agreement and was cited repeatedly for those violations, and later withdraw from the NPT and test multiple nuclear devices. Iran was found in non-compliance with the NPT safeguards obligations in an unusual non-consensus decision because it failed in a number of instances over an extended period of time to report aspects of its enrichment program. Fine. So these are the instances of the violations and the violators who have either left the treaty or who have violated the condition of the treaty and are removed from it by the international community. Fine. Coming to the criticism, so any treaty has its own criticisms, although whatever it may be, its advantages, but definitely critics never leave anything. So critics argue that NPT cannot stop the proliferation of nuclear weapons or the motivation to acquire them. They express disappointment with the limited progress in nuclear disarmament, where five authorized nuclear weapons states still have 13,400 warheads in their combined stockpile. So you see, when the treaty was signed, so there is a provision of disarmament. But even the nuclear weapon states, they have started adding to their nuclear stockpile than disarming it. So there is a huge multiplication of their nuclear arsenal. That is a big challenge because at present, okay, more than 13,000 nuclear warheads have been built by the five nuclear weapon countries. That means they are on a path of nuclear arms race and had to discourage others in joining that. Over the years, NPT has come to be seen by many third world states as a conspiracy of the nuclear hubs to keep their nuclear hubnuts in their place. That means, so this is discrimination. Okay, and so that the nuclear non-weapon states or non-nuclear weapon states say that NPT is discriminatory because it allows the nuclear weapon country to go on adding to their nuclear stockpiling without resorting to disarmament, whereas it put conditions or it put limitation on their joining the nuclear weapon program. That means it discriminates the non-nuclear weapon nations against the nuclear weapon countries. The nuclear weapon countries are allowed vertical proliferation. Here come two concepts called the, so two things are discussed here. One is vertical proliferation. That means they go on adding to their stocks. Whereas it prohibits, it is permitted. Whereas it prohibits horizontal. Proliferation. That means this way. Nothing, no one is allowed beyond these five. So no one is allowed. No. Okay, this is discriminatory. It allows vertical proliferation but prohibits horizontal proliferation. So this is alleged as a conspiracy of the nuclear hubs to keep the nuclear hub nuts in their place. That means none from the nuclear hub nuts will ever be permitted to join the nuclear club. Fine. So this argument has root in Article 6 of the treaty, which obligates the nuclear weapon states to liquidate their nuclear stockpile and pursue complete disarmament. The non-nuclear states see no sign of this happening because Article 6 of the NPT say that they will dismantle their nuclear weapons, so the nuclear weapon states. But there is no instances or no example of that. Rather, so it goes on increasing with passing year. They go on a vertical proliferation of nuclear weapons. Whereas, so it is not allowed horizontal proliferation. This is prohibited. This is allowed. So, and these countries who have acquired nuclear weapons or stockpile this, they have not taken any step to eliminate it. So, eliminate this. So, they don't have taken any step to eliminate this. Either they go on adding to this. That is what a misconception. Some argue that nuclear weapon states have not fully complied with their disarmament obligations under Article 6 of NPT. Some countries such as India have criticized the NPT because it discriminated against the states not possessing nuclear weapons on 1st January 1967. While Iran and numerous Arab states have criticized Israel for not signing the NPT, there have been disappointment with the limited progress on nuclear disarmament, while the five authorized nuclear weapon states still have more than 13,000 foreign warheads among them. Okay, that means they have large amount of nuclear warheads, and every year they are adding to that. Whereas the other countries in military and security concept, doctrine and policy, the Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was adopted in 2017. Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was adopted in 2017 and was subsequently opened for signature in September 2017, entering into force in 2000 in January 2021. It prohibits each state party from the developing, testing, production, stockpiling, stationing, transfer, use, and threat of use of nuclear weapons, as well as assistance to those activities. It reaffirms in its preamble the vital role of the full and effective implementation of NPT. Although this treaty on prohibition of nuclear weapon, another one, Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was adopted in 2017 and came into force in 2021 as a you can say a supplement to the NPT. But in the present Russia-Ukraine war, what we are witnessing every day is a Russian threat that we will use nuclear weapon on Ukraine to destroy it. This is the most brightest example of the bullishness and the discriminatory provisions in the NPT, which is giving the scope to the nuclear weapon country to exercise its nuclear weapon capability over others and spread its hegemony around the world. Friends, so in today's discussion, we are able to throw light on a very important topic which are very relevant from different exam point of view. So have a good idea on this. So try to collect other necessary informations and enrich yourself. Thank you for watching.